Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I am your host, Esbatholkus, and this is Deadly Class Season 1, Episode 7, Rise Above. I guess it was called something else before. I think they changed some of the titles of these things before they actually aired them. So it was kind of a weird thing when I was looking online. I saw there was a couple different titles for this. But then again, they've been doing that for some of these episodes, and who knows what the hell is going on. But before we get started here, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. So if you haven't seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video, and then you can comment down below in the comment section or whatever else you like to do. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for that paddle. Yes. So some interesting stuff in this one. We had a little bit more gore. Yes, we did, as Viking Bitch was saying earlier in the chat here before we started. And we got some more backstories on some people, including on Fuckface as well. So we have Marcus, of course, starting off with him lamenting how everything is temporary, including his security and his happiness. Because, Marcus is a little goth, and that's what he is. Again, in the 80s, it was called mod. Now it's called goth. That's what he is. He's just sitting there and listening to his Morrissey, and of course, The Cure, anything else that's really, really depressing. And yes, Viking Bitch, I do too. I'm loving French Stewart as this really creepy, teacher, the Scorpio slasher. But we'll get to him in a minute. So, Marcus is up there as he's writing his thoughts down in his journal, and he meets Saya in secret, and she goes, "Why do we need all this subterfuge? Why do you need to meet me in secret?" And then he tells her that we're all in trouble, and I need your help. And then he tells her about Chester, aka Fuckface, has Chico's body. He says, "I know where Chico's body is, and this guy has it." And then he gives her his journal and says, "Take a look at March of '86, and that'll explain everything." And it goes into how Marcus and it was in the home, and the home was actually a sweatshop for kids. So they're all sitting there making garments and crap like that. And they have a quota that they have to make. Otherwise, the guards will beat the shit out of them. And this is all animated sequence at this point. And Marcus has been stealing needles off of the stuff that he's been sewing and sticking them in the skin inside of his mouth so he can sneak them out of the room, because that's the only place they can't find them. And of course, as he's being let out of the room, as everyone's getting let out of the room, they find out that needles are missing from his station. So they bring him over to Mrs. Franks, who's the head of the school or head of the boys' home, and search him and everything. They don't find anything. They strip him down, and they search him thoroughly, all the while Mrs. Franks is talking about how he's she's going on a racist tirade. Let's just say that. There's a lot of racism that happens in this show. And yeah, that's all I can say is that, yes, there's a lot of racist tirade going on about people coming to this country and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's honestly, having grown up in it in that time frame, yes, it was going on in San Francisco as well. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, San Francisco, this liberal bastion, all this kind of stuff." Dude, no, there was a lot of shit going on as well. It was the 80s. Racism was rampant and open. Like I said, in the East Bay of San Francisco up until the mid 90s, even late 90s, there was cross burnings going on up in the fucking hills. That's all I can say. Not more than 20 miles away from San Francisco. So yeah, that shit was going on. I hate to say it, but yeah, and it still goes on. I'm pretty sure a lot of it's still going on, and just a little more further up in the hills now than what it was amongst the multi-billion dollar homes up there. So yeah, some bad shit. Sorry, I thought I dropped something there for a second. So he headed back to his room, and of course Chester's there, jerking off as usual to the dog show. And Chester asks him if he forgot something, and Marcus throws him his sandwich. And as Chester's eating, he goes, "This tastes like shit. What the hell?" And he grabs onto Marcus, and Marcus is saying, "Well, maybe it's the cheese." And as Chester falls to the floor and goes, "Or maybe it's the poison I put in it." And and I'm getting out of this fuckhole, and you're not gonna die. You're just gonna be paralyzed, and you're gonna be able to watch this shit slowly. And he says, "By the way, I built a bomb, and it's all that we found out where all the pins have gone is in this bomb we've seen before in one of the other illustrated segments of this show." And he said he used Chester's anarchist cookbook in order to build this whole thing up. See you, Stanley. Yes, if you haven't seen the episode yet, it is going to be spoiled. So, and Marcus starts screaming for the guards that his roommate is sick, and come in and they see him hiding behind a mattress, and they're like, "Hiding behind that mattress isn't going to save you." And he goes, "Yeah, it's actually not for you guys. It's for what I've left you." And we see the bomb with the fuse lit, and they're like, "Holy shit!" And the bomb explodes. Needles go flying everywhere into their faces. Marcus grabs one of the guards' guns and kills him. Then goes over to Mrs. Franks and handcuffs her to the desk and releases all the boys. What he doesn't know is that, that Chester didn't die. Chester survived. He's all fucked up in his face. He had needles in his face. Part of his face was burned, but he survived. And he's the one that killed all the rest of the boys that he released from their cells and then burned the place to the ground. So that is the truth of what happened there in the home. We finally find this all out. And actually, Joe Greer, a dirty bomb is something else. That's when you use radioactive materials to spread it all over stuff. And this is just a shrapnel bomb is what he did. And as having read the anarchist cookbook, I may or may not have a copy. Who knows? That, yes, I know what he's talking about on that one. So, and yes, I did get my copy back in the 80s. That's all I'm going to say. Everyone had one in the 80s, man. It's just, you did at one point in time. So we see Chester having a full-on conversation now with Chico's head, which is sitting in a tub of ice and beer. And Chico's, we also have the stoner from a couple episodes ago who Chester had taken as his hostage is still with him. And now they've moved over to his aunt's house, over to Chester's aunt's house, and where his grandma is and his cousin, Jimmy John. And Chester is having this conversation with Chico's head and about what he needs to do next and why he hasn't killed Marcus yet. And Jimmy John comes in and he asks Jimmy John if he painted, fuckface on the wall after he killed whatever he was supposed to do. And Jimmy John didn't. And this pisses off Chester a lot. Chester, by the way, is in the bathroom right now, dropping a deuce as we're doing this. And he grabs Jimmy John and throws his head into the toilet. And says, "How are they ever going to know who the hell it is? You need to keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's what's called a serial killer." Yeah. So very fucked up. Yes. And very nasty, that bathroom scene. You're right, Viking bitch. It was. Yeah. So, hey, Faila, I'm sorry, I'm going to murder your name. So thank you. I will get to the chat too here in a little bit. So I'm not ignoring you guys, really. Yeah. And he's just really pissed off at Jimmy John because he didn't leave fuckface at the murder scene there. And so we end up seeing Lex. Lex we haven't seen in a while. So we see Lex again, and he's got these two brass knuckles with spikes on them. And he's hunting Maria through the hallway, and he's looking for her, and he's like, "I know you're here." And we know it's a training exercise at this point because they're in the school. He's hunting her, and he thinks he sees where she's at in this doorway, and really she's hiding behind him. And she comes out and just beats the shit out of him, keeps beating the shit out of him till Master Lin comes out and stops her. And Lex actually wants to go for her, and Lin's like, "No." This is a perfect example how adrenaline can be just, during a training exercise, can be just as real as the real thing. And she is kind of losing it at this point and runs down the hallway, because she's lost it. And Chico's main right-hand guy follows her and says, what the fuck's going on? You need to find Chico's killer. You need to do this now because you're dragging your heels at this point. And you need to find out, you need to follow up on that lead I had with Yukio, which was Yukio's the kid who had also arranged for Saya to be have that hit put out on Saya. So yeah. And in the meantime, we see Willie and Gabrielle talking about death, and he talks about his father, and she's like, well, how'd your father die? He was talking about his father's funeral and how it was an open casket, and how he's looking at the body and says, that's not the guy. I don't know who the hell that is. And because, his spirit had left his body. She was originally talking about a guy in Canada who got a heart transplant, and then suddenly started liking classical music, started liking different kinds of food, all this kind of thing. And how no one knows what happens, of course, when you die, that kind of thing. And he says, well, hopefully his father found peace and is able to play guitar, because he always wanted to play guitar and he always wanted to do other things, but of course got involved in whatever that family business was that he's in. He doesn't tell her, all that much. And she says, well, if you think, this vulnerability act, does this work with the girls and all that stuff, getting to drop their panties and everything? He goes, I never talk this way with anybody except for you. And that's when she jumps him. And of course, bow chicka wow wow. There we go. Marcus, in the meantime, takes Saya to the cell where they're keeping the Scorpio slasher, aka French Stewart. He has another cameo here as the Scorpio slasher. And they want to have, basically Marcus wants to use his knowledge, him being a serial killer, and says, you'll probably have more insight into where Chester is, because we need to find him, than I will. And the Scorpio killer's like, you're selling yourself short, man. He goes, you and I are the same. And Marcus is like, we are not the same. There's no way in hell we're the same. And he says, okay, I'll do it, but you need to take me to Pancho Villa's for a burrito. So yeah, he basically needs to take him out to the mission to get a burrito, which honestly, yeah, I would do that too. If you want to kill somebody, you need to set some good high stakes there. And yes, a burrito in the mission is a good, is a pretty high price to pay. So they end up inadvertently entering a puzzle room that Billy has been trapped in, and Billy needs to solve a riddle in order to exit the puzzle room. And of course they close the door behind them, locking them in. And he's like, no, don't let the door close. And of course it closes. Like, and they read the riddle, and yeah, of course, no one knows what to do at first, and they're trapped there for a little while. Chico's father, in the meantime, comes to the school along with Chico's brother, and to talk to Maria about what's going on and why they haven't found Chico as of yet. And Master Lin, of course, is talking to his father about how Maria's been looking. She has Chico's best interest in mind. She has been beside herself. He's seen this, and he vouches for her. And she leaves, after, of course, Chico's father kissed her on the forehead, makes some platitudes, whatever, and she leaves. And that's when Chico's father says, Mr. Lin, do you have any children? He says, I did. She died. I had a daughter. And he goes, so he talks a little bit more, and he goes, whoever did this, whoever took my Chico, they're gonna them and their families are gonna witness hell before I send them there. And he says, and by the way, he was under your care, wasn't he? And hands him Mr. Lin's cane, and basically threatens him right then and there to his face. So, and Madame Gao is there as well, and he doesn't say a damn word at all. And of course, this is not unnoticed by Madame Gao, his sister. So the Scorpio slasher again ends up talking to Marcus. They're in the puzzle room still, and again saying how much alike they are. He goes, you and I have a lot more in common than this fool. He's talking about Billy over there. and he says, we both like to do this. He goes, and he basically wants to know why Marcus wants to kill Reagan. And he keeps kind of pushing at him, keeps pushing buttons. And Marcus, of course, is getting more and more pissed off, but won't answer anything about this. So just as things are about to kind of roll to a head, and the other thing is that the Scorpio slasher is also saying that Dr. Seuss was a punk. And he says he was also a lecherous old man who was screwing another woman while his wife was dying of cancer. So, I mean, and so for those of you at home, playing at home, I don't know if you know, but today is Dr. Seuss's birthday. And to have the episode where they basically call Dr. Seuss a lecherous old man on his birthday, I don't know if they planned this or not, but wow. Very interesting that they did that. Very interesting indeed. So, excuse me. Just as the things are about to, excuse me, roll to a head, Saya solves the riddle, pushes the eye in on the dragon statue, and opens the door. So basically what they had waiting behind all the different doors was an actual lion, fire, and ninjas, basically that were going to kill them. There was only one door that would let them out, and Saya finds out all you have to do is push the eye, and that opens up the door. So they're outside, and of course, they're going to go to Pancho Villa's and go get a burrito because that was the deal. So the four of them are at Pancho Villa's, and the Scorpio slasher is saying, again, he wants to know why why Marcus wants to kill Reagan. And Marcus is like, it's none of your fucking business, man. He's really just, and the Scorpio slasher, is really just pushing Marcus's buttons, pushing him to the point where they're like, you're a psychopath and you don't need to know any better, is what says something like that, basically pushing his buttons. And he grabs a knife and puts it to her throat as, Billy tightens up the collar because they've got him on a leash. And Marcus finally says, because he released all the mental patients and a mental patient killed my family. And he goes, see, there was point A to point, I was hoping there was a point A to point B to a point C, but it was just a point A to point B. He goes, now ice cream. And they're like, what? He goes, let's go get some ice cream. We haven't heard yet, Joker, if it's been renewed or not. So, Madame Gao, in the meantime, and Lynn are talking about how he's gotten soft, is what she's saying. And basically that her father left the school into the wrong hands when he died. Excuse me. And basically she asks him, would you have let your daughter come to the school if she hadn't died? And he says, knowing what I know now, he goes, I wouldn't have been comfortable with it, but yes, I would have, let her, I would have made her come to the school. It's in our bloodline. And she tells him about her own child's death, her son's death, and how it taught her some lessons and it made her harder. And she goes, well, your daughter's death just made you soft, is what she says to him. Some foreshadowing there. So, because we know what had gone on with Mr. Lin. We've seen this already at the end of last episode. So Chester is still talking to Chico's head and wants to kill Marcus in a big way, basically, because Marcus is a famous serial killer. And if he kills the famous serial killer, he becomes famous by default as well. And it's some really kind of weird, logic that he's got there. And so then Chester goes on and talks about how things can change you and how they can fuck you up. And basically his father caught him fucking the family dog and took him outside to the back to teach him a lesson and basically raped him, is in so many words. They don't really, they allude to it, but they don't say it. But we know what happened. And he says, yeah, and so what I did was, in retaliation, I dropped a Trans Am on Dad while he was underneath changing the oil and killed him. And he even admits that's probably what screwed him up as well, even further than what he already was. So we go back to Saya, and Saya and Marcus are standing outside a liquor store in the Mission, while Billy and the Scorpio Slasher are inside getting ice cream, and they're talking about. She talks about the myth of the red string coming down from the gods to direct different people in different paths and all this kind of stuff. And um, again, the Scorpio Slasher comes out of the liquor store eating a big ice cream that's called a That's What. For those of you playing at home, that's actually, they couldn't use the It's It. There's a real ice cream called It's It that's from the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area. And it's been around since the 70s, honestly. So they couldn't use that. So they used a That's What is what they called it. And it's the same shape, everything. I even have some in my freezer right now. I thought it was just kind of funny that they did that. Um, yes, you're right, Viking Bitch. Fuckface's backstory does not redeem him at all. It might have been human flavored, but and for the burrito, he got carnitas, by the way. So there you go. He didn't get carne asada. He got carnitas, which is pork. So that is close to human analog. There you go. So there you go. And he again is drawing comparisons to him and Marcus is just getting pissed off at this point. He goes, let's go. Can you help me find, fuckface at this point? You're like, okay, let's go. And then he tells my favorite line so far is he looks over at Billy and says, give me some slack, motherfucker. I'm in the city. Talking about the leash that he's on. So Willie and Gabrielle are talking after sex, and she gets up to go and shower, and he pulls out the Lone Wolf and Cub book and says, this black and white shit, is this any good? And she talks about how, he goes out, he's an assassin who's being hunted, and he kills all these guys all while wearing a kid strapped to his back. So, and in the meantime, he gets a page from his boys telling him that it's time for him to get back there because, he's being missed. And his gang, that he's got to get back to them. And yeah, so he's getting ready to leave. He's going back into hardcore gangster mode. And she's like, the reason why I live here, she goes, why I don't live with my family is because I wasn't going to deal with that shit anymore. And she goes, you can do it too. And he goes, no, I can't. And she goes, yeah, you can. You just need to try. And he's like, yep, I got to leave. And he takes off. And I believe we're going to get more of that too. So we have, again, the stoner in a bunny suit tied to the front of a truck a la Mad Max. And, or I should say the Road Warrior, because the Road Warrior did come out at that, previous. So we could see where that inspiration came from. And they drive up to a girl dropping off her dog at a shelter is what it was. And he goes, oh, you're not going to like it. Gets darker from here, basically, is what he says. Yeah, the nipples on his bunny suit were cut out. That's right, Viking Bitch. It very disturbing imagery. This whole episode was very disturbing. That's all I can say. So Chico's brother is waiting for Maria in her room when she gets out of the shower. Excuse me. And basically tells her, he goes, my father might have fallen for that shit of you being, all worried about Chico and everything. Goes, but, and he might have seen that when he looked in your eyes. He goes, but I don't fall for it. He goes, you have 24 hours to take care of this shit, or we're coming for you, basically. And gives her a rosary. Yeah. In the meantime, the Scorpio Slasher brings them to the only shelter in SF where you can drop off a dog without any kind of questions, and they hear a scream in the back, and he goes, am I good or what? They end up going back there, and they find Fuckface along with everybody else, and the girl has blood on her face because Chester has cut her forehead a little bit, and the Scorpio Slasher, of course, tells he tells now I just forgot his name. God. Billy. There we go. He tells Billy to let him go. He goes, let go of the, he basically just looks back at him to let go of the leash, and he does. And Fuckface is laughing at him and says, Jimmy John out there, and goes, Jimmy John, show him what a hillbilly welcome is like. And Jimmy John pulls out his knife, and he's, the Scorpio Slasher just walks right up to him, takes Jimmy John's knife, stuffs it in his belly, brings it up, and disembowels him completely. We just see the guts hit the floor. And, Fuckface is like, who the hell are you? And he goes, I am the Scorpio Slasher, but I also do disembowelments. And, of course, Fuckface Chester is a big fan. He goes, you should never meet your fans, or never meet your idols. He goes, but no. He goes, I do. This is better than a car show with Adam West. And as he's saying all this, he's backing up, getting into the truck. And they get into the truck and drive away. Yeah, so he gets away and he goes, you still got to find me. And he tells, he's yelling at Marcus that Marcus cheated and that he still has to find him and find the head. So in the meantime, Gao ends up following Lynn as Lynn is walking his daughter back from her music recital, and introduces. She goes, you know what? I haven't seen you since you were a little baby. You don't remember me. I'm your aunt. And yeah, she's about 8 years old now at this point. And damn, she basically tells Lynn in no uncertain terms that, he's been lying all this time. He's going to answer for it. And she's doing this all in front of his daughter. And, basically there's going to be hell to pay now at this point. And she even tells her niece that she'll see her soon, in an ominous tone, of course. So we end up going to a club, and some Ramones are playing in the background, and we see Yukio kind of drunkenly stagger into the bathroom, pees in the urinal, and who pops out of one of the stalls behind him. And by the way, this is a very clean club in SF. I've been in a lot of clubs in SF, especially in the 80s. That was fucking the cleanest bathroom I've ever seen, because there's no way that was a club in San Francisco. Maybe in LA, but not San Francisco. Anyway, I digress. So Maria pops out of the stall and slashes Yukio's throat, and he goes down to the ground and dies. She sneaks out and is walking through the crowd, and one of Yukio's crew is walking back to the bathroom to go and check on him to find out what's taking him so long, finds him dead in the bathroom and yells out that, he's dead. And so all the guys grab their guns and they're getting up off out of the VIP area, and she's trying to make her way out when the waiter spots her, and she's trying to tell the waiter to shush, and he doesn't, and so she slashes his throat before he can scream out. And she gets outside, and the car's waiting for her out in the alleyway, and who's waiting in the car for her but Chico's father, telling her she did a good job. And that's where we leave off. So good episode. I mean, damn good episode. And yes, Maria did look badass in that club scene. You're right, James. That was a really nice thing. And yes, Joker, I am close to 200 subs. I'm getting there. It's a slow but steady pace. So, and yes, James, I love that they kept the face paint for the show too. It's actually really kind of cool and creepy at the same time. I like the Dia de los Muertos painting that they do. Pen Farm Girl, the Nippolis bunny suit was not even close to being the most disturbing scene. I agree. Yeah, there were a lot more disturbing images. So let me see what I missed here. Scope the letter art by Viking Bitches. What flavor ice cream would a psychopath like? I think he just had vanilla. So it's at the time you had... At that time, I believe there's only 3 flavors. No, excuse me, I take that back. There were 4 flavors. There was vanilla, mint, strawberry, and coffee. Those were the 4. Now they have all kinds of flavors. You can actually have them shipped out. You can find them at Costco even. That's why I have some in my freezer right now, is because they're at Costco. They show up periodically at Costco. Not that I work for the company or anything. It's just a damn good. Basically, what the ice cream is, it's 2 oatmeal cookies between a big ass glob of ice cream, all coated in chocolate. So it's messy as all hell because it melts in your hand as you're eating it. But yes, it's damn good and fattening as well, as you can tell. Viking Bitch says, I've heard that story about Dr. Seuss. There are no heroes. No, there aren't. There really aren't. And as Fuckface said, you never want to meet your heroes, because it usually ends up destroying what image you have of them. So, and yes, we need more French Stewart in this, and we need more of the Scorpio slasher, because one, he was a fucking badass, and two, French Stewart, just, when he's allowed to swear and stuff, is so much funnier. I can't remember what movie it was that I saw him in, but he was filthy and just foul mouthed. And the only thing I had seen him on before that was Third Rock from the Sun, which is funny in its own right. But seeing him just being this foul mouthed person made me laugh. It was very giggly. What else do we have here? Yeah, Mako didn't see the episode. Yeah, I understand. There's a lot of stuff out there. Excuse me. Gadget? What do you mean, Ricardo Aspi? And by the way, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's in the chat today. So we've got Ricardo Aspi, Sculpt Leather Up by Viking Bitch, Faila, forgive me if I murdered your name, Joker the Third, James. Who else do we have here? I know there's some people. Pen Farm Girl is here. I know we had some people pop in and out too as we went along. And I know Mako was in a little earlier. Stanley Tweedle also had a bounce because I hadn't seen it. And so did Movie Fanobi. He had a bounce. But thank you for those of you who are here. Gadget, the second movie. The first is with Ferris Bueller. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's what the movie was. Inspector Gadget. Yeah. Sculpt Leather by Viking Bitch says, I do like the show, though. It's getting better as it goes. Yeah, it is. It's not as much in the 80s nostalgia as I thought it was going to be. It's actually really not at all. And it's more on the high school aspect of it, along with a lot of brutal slayings and killings and some very disturbing backstories. So, yeah. And that they're doing the backstories as animated sequences doesn't really lessen them all that much either. I mean, I know they're doing it so they can get away from the ratings. The censorship, I guess you could say, the censors, they can do a little bit more with the animation than they can do live action. Because honestly, if they tried doing that live action with kids and stuff like that, oh my God, you would see people protesting this shit. Yeah, it would be one big protest fest going on. Not that there isn't a lot more other stuff to protest in this world, but hey, that's what people are about now. So with that said, I'm going to get some business out of the way. Hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you don't like what you see either. Some people have. Leave a comment down in the comment section. If you want to see when I'm going to be on live again, hit the little bell. You have a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you that I'm on. It's kind of a hit and miss with that one. I have my own website, suspendedfanimation.com. That is where I have my schedule up. I also have the schedule up on Facebook. Unfortunately, there's no really good link on Facebook to link you there. Just search for Suspended Fanimation on Facebook if you're on there. I'm also on Twitter at Suspended Phantom 1 is what it is. And I'm on Instagram as well. I haven't really done much on Instagram too much, but I will add some more, especially when con time rolls around. You'll see some stuff from me on there. And yes, Ricardo Aspi, tomorrow is Gotham. Gotham is tomorrow, and Friday is Doom Patrol. So, and then Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the news of the week and talk about all the genre news that's going on and any genre stuff that you guys want to talk about as well. And it's a good time had by all, and everyone's in the chat. Pen Farm Girl says it's much better than I expected after being disappointed by some other shows. Yeah, TV, like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there. And surprisingly, a lot of it's good, but surprisingly, a lot of it's bad from some of the bigger places that are, like network TV. That's all I'm going to say. And Doom Patrol, yeah, God. I was not expecting it to be as good, especially after Titans. Titans really sucked. I mean, Titans really sucked bad. Doom Patrol completely, it's a 180 from Titans completely. Just in 2 episodes alone, it's really good. It's tick good. I could say that much. Maybe even a little bit better. I don't know. That might be sacrilege. But yeah. And speaking of which, we got the tick coming out on April 5th. Yeah. Faila says every time a really good show gets going, some network goof shuts it down. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, Counterpart, man. Counterpart needs to live on again to have season 3 through 18. Yeah. But until then, we have shows like this. We have another season of Legion coming up. We have Gotham. I can't really recommend. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. It's one of those things that, like I said, I really can't recommend to people. Excuse me. I'm basically covering it because it's its last season and it's just damn fun. It's really cheesy, but it's fun. Joker says Titans or Young Justice first. Young Justice. You know what? Tell you what, Joker, get Titans out of the way and then go to Young Justice to kind of wash it out. Yeah. That'll be because Titans. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. The best episode of Titans is Doom Patrol. Go figure, Pen Farm Girl says, Dennis off topic, but did you see the Gotham Joker picture that was released? Was that the one with Jeremiah kind of dressed up as the Joker, or I don't know. I probably haven't seen it. Excuse me. Again, still getting over the viral pneumonia, so I apologize for the coughing. I can't control it, unfortunately. So, it's yeah. So much stuff is coming out in March and April. My God. It's I'm glad some stuff is ending so that I can pick up. We've got Happy coming out at the end of March. We have again the Tick coming out in April. There's other stuff that's coming out too. And yeah, Happy makes me happy. It really does. And having met Derek on a few occasions and being able to talk to him, who's, the co-creator of Happy and also the co-creator of The Boys, and Oliver, that just is out in comics right now. Issue 2 just came out yesterday, as a matter of fact, or today, today. So yeah, definitely take a look at that. Pen Farm Girl says Jeremiah with prosthetics, apparently final makeup. Oh, I didn't see that. Interesting. Yeah, I tend not to. I don't want to see the costume stuff because I know the last 2 episodes of Gotham are supposed to be full on Batman, and yeah, Joker and Penguin and all this stuff, and I really don't want to see it before the episode comes out because yes, though it's cheesy, they seem to know, they know it's their last season, so they're putting out no stops whatsoever. They're just doing whatever the hell they want. And they're like, yeah, fuck you, Warner Brothers, fuck you, DC, all that kind of stuff. They're just doing it. Yes, Good Omens as well. Good Omens is coming out to Amazon as well. And The Boys. Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff out there. So, I can understand if you guys don't have the bandwidth in order to take on a new show. I don't have that much bandwidth either. That's why I pick and choose what I'm doing. Pretty soon I'm going to be done with Future Man. I am on episode 8 right now. I think I just finished episode 8. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there we go. And once that runs out, then we're going into new stuff that pops up. And when the new stuff pops up, I think some other stuff is going to fall off here as well. I know Gotham's going to keep going for a while. And like I said, Project Blue Book, I believe, only has, is it a 13 episode run? It might be a 13 episode run. So I do that on Tuesdays, and then Doom Patrol is a 13 episode run. So I think Gotham's the only like really long running one. I think Deadly Class is only 13 episodes as well. So, come this time April, we're probably going to be in a whole different run of shows on this channel. Lots of fun. Whole new things for you guys to be addicted to. There you go. Is he tall enough for Batman? I don't know if they're actually going to be using David, the actor who's playing Bruce Wayne right now, for the Batman in the last 2 episodes, because he's supposed to be grown up. I think they're going to go forward like a couple of years. So I don't think. Are you going to do the Game of Thrones reviews? Quite possibly, James. It's the last season. I'm probably going to do the Game of Thrones reviews. I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones fan. I'll tell you that right now. I haven't read the books. I actually skipped season 6. I watched the last couple episodes of season 6 and then watched season 7. I watched all of season 7. I've seen all the seasons before that. It's just, for some reason, I dropped season 6. I was like, yeah. I think season 5 kind of pissed me off a little bit, so I dropped out of season 6. So yes, I can. I'll see how Game of Thrones fits into all of that. And since it is its last season, and of course Legion's coming out, what is it? That's in June. Yeah, Legion is coming out for the last season in June. Yeah, Joe Greer. I know I have a weird taste in stuff. I lose interest. I drop out of some stuff every now and then. It's and again, it's because I want to see something new. Excuse me. And I know where the tropes are that, I can see where George R. Martin is pulling from. There, everyone was kind of surprised by the Red Wedding episode. And it was kind of funny. As I was watching it, I'm like, you guys might want to be pulling out your weapons now, everybody, because they're gearing up for war. They're not drinking. They've got all their armor on. They're being very solemn. And they're closing the doors behind you. Get your fucking weapons out now. And sure enough, I was like, well, it's just being observant. That's all it was. So it's the paranoid in me. That's really what it is. There is a little bit of the paranoid in me when I go into rooms and stuff like that, or restaurants and things like that. I do check exits and I look around at all my surroundings. It's a bad habit, I know. But there we go. Yeah, I know, Joker. I do shock people sometimes about my habits and what I watch. But anyway, with that said, if they'd only listen to me. Don't drink at the damn party, man. Bring your weapons in with you. No. Otherwise, it wouldn't be storytelling at that point. Anyway, if you are still on the fence about subscribing, there's going to be some section up here that has some videos from my library. Excuse me. Tailored to... Excuse me. Videos from my library tailored to your tastes. Can actually take from your algorithm the things that you've watched and pull the best video up there for you. If you want to subscribe, then you can come over and hit the subscribe button. That's going to be over on this side. Again, thank you for everyone who showed up in the chat tonight. And I'm going to let you guys go so I don't cough in your ear any more than I already have. And join me tomorrow for Gotham. I will let you guys go for the evening, and don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up receiving a knife, be on the business end of a knife from a guy in a leash and weird glasses and a speech